Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Welcome back to Millennial Money Management with our part 2 session of our interview with Chaz Jenkins as we go through our series of employment transitions. So, I think you missed the whole point between there of how you jumped into it, though. Because you didn't jump into it with just a recruiter. You went on a big time, resume.
There was so much stuff going on. All right, so because to answer that, I got to jump back. So
Okay.
So just going back at the time when I got rolled up for whatever.
That's when the ball started rolling.
The ball's already rolling, but that's when momentum picked up. So I actually created my website, chazjenkins.com, because I'll be damned if someone else is gonna tell my story, or I should have a say in my own branding, my own whatever, not what someone else thinks.
Right.
So I created my website. I just wanted to be, at the time when I created it, I wanted to be a place where I could just mention it to recruiters and managers and be like, yeah, by the way, I wrote about this on my site. Like, do you know about Linux? Do you know about virtual machines? Do you know about tech, IT?
You point them in a direction to say, fuck that. Yeah.
Yes. So don't depend on. I didn't want to just depend on references and shit like that. Like, yeah, of course I know about it. I've written about it.
Right.
You read the articles. Blah blah blah. So that was a big thing that I did. The other thing was, I actually ended up upgrading my LinkedIn.
Which was a smart choice.
So the thing about job hunting is, it's not cheap.
Nope.
So there's actually someone we're going to have on a podcast who did some job searching. I think we're going to have to call him in, but he told me he applied to like 200, 300, like in the hundreds of positions, because his job hunt game was crazy, because what he wanted, like you can accept anything, but if you want a certain salary range and position, you gotta go for it. And he was just like, look.
But wasn't there a sacrifice for both ends? Because that's what I wanted to ask too. You saying someone else.
Yeah.
But when you get to a point of frustration, your next job should be something either you want
or you need.
I need it, or it's paying. And the worst part is, if it's paying, that's a problem, because that means you're sacrificing having a high paid salary for doing something that you may not necessarily want to do, but just that you can do.
Well, that's a fucked up thing. So just for my sake, in terms of salary wise, it works. But I'm getting the experience that I think will take me to the next level.
Gotcha.
Because my previous job, on paper it works, but like when I was describing, and I had this conversation with somebody else, like when I was describing what I did to people, to recruiters, whatever, I would just get put into a box like, oh, sounds like you did this, or blah blah blah. I was like, God damn it does. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right.
It's kind of like, hey, I'm a facility manager. What do you do? I mop the floor. Oh, sound like a janitor.
Sound like a janitor.
Oh, well.
No, I'm not a janitor. I'm a facility. You mop the floor. Did you take out the trash? Of course. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing.
Right.
So it was frustrating because I felt like I could bring more to the table, but the experience, basically the opportunities I had in the position was only so much that I can really sell myself without. I don't want to do, like, I'm not the type of dude to do, fluff to the point of I get there and then I'm like, okay. Like, I think we all seen the picture of Crying Jordan.
Yeah.
Like when he's in the office, when on the resume, when you lie and say Excel.
Yeah.
And he's in front of the computer.
Get the Crying Jordan face.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
They got me.
Yeah. So I personally don't want to do that. I want to go into something like, look, here's what I can bring to the table. If I need to learn something, I'm confident I can learn it. In fact, there's udemy.com, LinkedIn Learning has those Linda videos and some other shit.
Yeah, I like Udemy though.
Udemy, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the shit. So for me, it was a little in terms of like salary, it's not ideal, but I'm gonna be honest. Motherfuckers with salaries is man. There's high paying jobs, but
Hmm.
you'll get lowballed in a second.
So you always have to be
Oh
prepared.
my god.
So I prepared myself in order to go on a trajectory to be able to say these are the jumps that I'm going to be
And
in.
my mentor, and I gotta first of all, I gotta say during my whole process of grad school, basically once I cut out like I met dude starting with my dead end job era.
So that worked, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And one of his messages was he had two main messages. One was try to avoid debt when going back to grad school. Unfortunately, I couldn't in that situation because I had to fucking get out that job.
Right.
But try to avoid debt. It's hard to pay down debt, easy to accept a loan, whatever. I tell a lot of people to volunteer or to do non-paid internships if you need to jump ship. So maybe did an internship, some accounting or finance thing. Then you get another internship for a well-known firm.
Hmm.
You do some other experience, and then you bust into the entry level of whatever. Like that. That's a nice narrative versus just some. Your resume needs to flow. In other
Right.
words,
Right. It needs to your point. I'll stick to that. It needs to tell a story.
yes. So I think
My resume tells that I started one place. They was like, "You've done so much, but you don't have an engineering degree." I said, "I don't have to because I put myself in the position to learn these and have the hands on, and then I'm good at tech, so it was easy to flow through
yeah,
that."
yeah. Being good at, getting the IT component of the thing that's huge. If you
It
just
is.
understand technology, because that makes everything so much easier. You
Yep.
just all software is software. So it's just a matter of knowing the menus and knowing how it works.
Right.
Then you can learn everything so much easier.
So who said that? I don't know if it was Jobs or one of the CEOs said programming should be taught in the schools as a language.
You would
Because
think
if you
so by
learn how
now.
to program,
But here's the thing,
everything
though.
comes together.
Here's the thing. Like I was reading about Oklahoma. Apparently, the teachers
Yeah, they on strike.
they're not earning shit.
Yeah.
Like it's shocking. Like 11 years, motherfuckers made. She went from making 30 to like 40,000. Like I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Yeah. I don't how do you survive within the last 30 years inflation and everything has went up?
Yeah.
But that's what West Virginia went through.
Yeah, they did a strike too.
Mm-hmm.
So if a regular teacher is making that amount, a programmer, it's in demand. So unless it's on some nonprofit shit or something, you're not gonna really get that talent to come to the school and teach those motherfuckers unless they teach the other teachers.
But if it's a language, when you're teaching, you don't have to teach programming. You just know how things are created. Because
So teach syntax.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you can use that syntax in that way in anything that you do, but program helps you to put things together.
Yeah.
And because when I did HTML, when I did, my wife and I, she was teaching me A+, but I got tired of that shit. When I was doing all of that, I was able to put a lot of things together. So when I started doing Excel and when I was creating Access database,
It just makes
it was
everything
just so simple.
easy, yeah.
Yeah, it was easier to do that. And then when I was the warehouse management system, they was like, "How do you know this?" I was like, "It just works that way."
Yeah. It's like
It's not that I know it; it just works.
Yeah,
that
a
way.
lot of the things have the same properties.
Right.
And plus,
right. That's a good point. Yeah.
motherfuckers just don't want to reinvent the wheel. Like if you right click here, you probably can right click another one too
Exactly.
in the same
Yep.
place and get the
Yep.
same result.
Absolutely.
So getting the IT component was huge. So I want that narrative because one of the things that I feel was a learning opportunity for myself and them could have been, the certification thing. I think was just that could have been handled a different way.
yeah.
And it's just when you attack people from a punitive perspective. Basically, I'm like, look, I think going forward, what makes sense is if you interview somebody and you say, hey, we expect you to have this certification or something, blah blah blah. I hate when the requirements switch after I'm there for a while.
Right.
And
But if it does, it has to be articulated concisely. It has to be,
have some paperwork.
Chaz, I want you to understand, before this point, you will have to have this. Our requirement in this position is you have to have this. So understand, if we have this conversation, we already told you what the requirement is. Don't be vague. And a lot of managers do not want to have that one-on-one because they're uncomfortable with confrontations. So they'll say it vaguely, and then they'll go, he didn't do it. Okay, write him up. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit, I got it. Yep, write him up. Except for being clear of what the expectation is.
I mean, that could have been communicated. Maybe I didn't understand.
They may not have been capable.
Whatever the case.
I know.
I'm just saying, that's something. If that happens to you, okay, you managing up is critical.
Yes.
Because you have to, for those kind of things, you say, okay, how about this? How about instead of a development plan, let's get something in writing. Mm-hmm. Because it's not necessarily trapping you into getting this done by a certain time. It's preventing them from taking punitive action when they're, when you feel like they shouldn't have done that. So if you get something in writing and says, okay, are you saying for this position, I need to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 by this date? Okay, great. Because if I do it and then you still trip anyway, we got a problem.
Yeah, because you clearly articulated what I needed to do at what time frame.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be great if they give a reason. They may not give a reason. Or the reason may be bullshit. But
so reduce the excuses. That's all we can say. Because they still may do it, to your point. But reduce it to the point of, nope, we had a discussion. Yeah. We did have it in writing. That's where things get fucked up.
And that said, in terms of getting shit in writing, this is always a little dicey depending on, the computer IT policy. Mm-hmm. Don't use the company email to log in to certain shit. So for HR, for certain things, they say, hey, create a password, username, password. Use your personal email. Because if shit hits the fan and they lay that ass off, you need to get back in, change your password. Mm-hmm. You lock the fuck out. My email account, I think, got deactivated or whatever, changed password immediately. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
they did that while you was in the office, bro. So
I'm like, look, that's just the reality of shit. Mm-hmm. I was able to, I thought ahead for certain things. So fortunately, I have documents. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna say what I'm saying is like, look, if you're uncomfortable or you just don't trust them, like, if the document is yours or it doesn't break the policy to have it, you better get that shit. Yep. Just because once you don't have access, you're gonna fucking kick yourself.
So any documents I create that is relevant, I send it to my home anyway. Anything else, I don't care. You can have everything else is yours. I don't care. It's the company's.
Yeah, examples of your work, your portfolio.
Exactly. So I have creations of presentations. Mm-hmm. I have metrics that I built and pivot tables that I presented to VPs. That's at the house.
Yeah, because once you lose it, you're gonna fucking kick yourself.
Because you're like, damn, I'm talking about this. And they say, hey, do you have any examples of that? No, but I can create one. And they're like, yeah, he's just making up some shit. Here it is. Here's the company. Here's the data. Mm-hmm. Or here's the data. What's the company? Don't worry about the company. But here's the data. And this is what I analyzed. And this is what came out to it. And if you notice, chronologically, this is how we built incrementally how we got better. And it's showing that. And you're kind of like, okay, I may not be able to prove that, but do you have your reviews? Mm-hmm. Here's a copy of my reviews.
Boom.
That's the other thing. You have to have copies of your review. Because if you don't have copies of your review and you leave,
that's it.
That's it. I give copies to my supervisors and managers to say whether you want it or not. Here it is. They got it. So if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna be like, you idiot, I gave it to you. So I'm not your manager no more. They talking shit that you're not doing your job. Where's your review at? Mm-hmm. And they like, damn, I didn't think about that.
So it's a very, and that's why I said earlier, it's not preemptive strike. It's more defensive maneuvers. It's more the barricades. You putting up the fucking, we all seen old pictures of Normandy. The fucking Germans had all that barbed wire and shit.
Sandbags built the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like, man, you gotta, because if you don't, and the shit happens, it's like insurance.
They're already on you.
Yeah, so it's like if you get in an accident, you don't have insurance, then it's like, well, what the fuck?
Or level of insurance. Think about that. The level of insurance that you have. Oh, I forgot my deduction is $1,500.
Yes.
Oh shit! I didn't realize. Can you afford $1,500?
Yeah, so if you can afford it, great. If not,
but if you can't,
that's your ass.
That's your ass, exactly.
So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that you have to think so far ahead and hoard documents. I mean, they're all digital, but just have documents ready.
But it's your self-interest.
Yeah.
So if you create anything,
and again, this is for jobs that are worth shit. If you're at McDonald's.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck.
Yeah, don't. If you got an email at McDonald's, where the fuck you at?
Yeah, you at corporate.
Yeah. You at corporate. So those things, think of what you've done, especially if you ready to move to the next level. Yeah. You still want to have those documents to say, hey, we're going to put you in this new position. But, your manager said you haven't done anything like this. Oh, yes, I have. Here it is.
That's make a great point. So, again, if you're dealing with that toxic workplace, and I think women deal with this more so. Like women who dealing with like a Me Too, a case thing,
chauvinistic,
and
or
then
misogynist,
and then the fucking male boss who got caught up in it is giving out shitty reviews, references. It was a case where the chick had to sue. They'll be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So if they're talking shit and you don't have the funds to fucking get a lawyer and fight for your rights, whatever, you'd be like, he's full of shit. Well, don't say that, but you just be like, look, whatever, with tact, speak on that, but just like, no, I think he may be mistaken. Here's something I've done. Yep. Here's some other examples, and boom, boom. I believe in that because it's just once you lose access.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or let's not even talk about losing access. When you're in the middle of interviewing for another job and someone said something ahead of you before you showed up, they already have things in their mind that you either not qualified or you wasn't capable of doing.
Yeah.
Always be prepared. I interviewed for another building up in Jefferson. It was still in the same company. But I wanted a different position. I just wanted to interview. And I went up there and my manager decided, I'm going to go behind you and give them my input. And I know she didn't like me. I was like, you don't need to have that. I said, I don't need for you to do that. No. I want to help you. No, I don't need that. She did it anyway. And then when I got the feedback from them, they was like, well, these are some things that we was concerned about. And it was the same thing that she was trying to tell me she wanted me to do. So I knew their response was based on her response to them.
So how did you deal with that?
I just said, I don't trust you. And I want to get out of this position as soon as possible. Excuse me, Michael. I said, let me explain to you the things why I don't. See this review? I had to make you change the wording on here because it was really offensive.
Right.
You changed it. I went to an interview. Things were fine, but you went anyway behind me. And then what they said was, no, that's not what happened. Perception is reality. And reality to some is what we have to live off.
Right.
Outside of that, I'm looking at, compared to what I've done with all the other new managers in the network, these are the things that I created. And the other managers and the VP appreciated what we did, but you rated me as this. So I have to get out of this position.
Yeah.
She was pissed.
But why?
Sadly, I think it was a gender thing.
No, I'm not even going to touch that one. No.
Because the people who got promoted outside of people who got promoted within the position were all women.
And I think from a consulting perspective, that's one of the things that I like about consulting is if you're not dealing with the internal politics, you're just not dealing with that shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, you know what I mean?
But you got to be respectful. And the sad thing about that is I make an effort to treat people equally with their skill set. But when you don't do that, I take offense to that. I took offense to that. And the managers around my manager was like, Michael, you did a great job. We sad to see you leave. I said, I would love to stay, but I can't. Why? I just can't. So when people ask me, did you like the position you was in? I said, oh, I loved it. I learned so much. It can be more. Then why don't you go back? Not until you change management. Yeah. I said, I can't work in a position that management doesn't see the value of what I bring or that I can't advance within the position.
Or just some tit for tat. Like, that's just...
But I didn't even break it down to that. I just used their terms.
High level.
Yeah. And they knew it, but they have to deal with those type of managers. But I was okay with that. So you learn from those experiences. Mm-hmm. And I was bitter for about a couple of months. And it was like, Mike, you got to get over that. I was like, no, I could have been in a different position by now. But I had to leave a position and relinquish a spot to be promoted because of how I was treated.
But that's just long-term growth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You did a short-term amputation for the rest of your career.
But it was fine.
Yeah.
But if you're aware of it, because that's where what you're saying is you was aware, but you didn't execute fast enough. Because if you was aware,
yeah, no,
you still executed. But you could have probably had a position of
aggressive.
Yeah, you wasn't aggressive. Yeah.
Because this opportunity was there, but I didn't act on it beforehand.
Yeah. So that's why I always say it's the timeliness of the execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just wasn't aggressive with it because hey, I'm here. If it comes along, yeah, I can step out of this and I'll be fine. But now it was like,
put on the gas.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So again, there are people who search for months, or weeks sometimes. So I know in my case, I'm very fortunate, and it could have not been the case at all because this particular recruiting firm is just, it just worked out that way. Right. And I think if I didn't get this one, they had other shit going on, but like just from all the other positions I applied to, I haven't really heard anything.
So 3 priorities. When you looked at the position, you wanted what first, what second, what third. So, and did you get that?
Yeah. What second, what's first, second, third. So based on what I was doing at the time or with the previous position, I'm like, okay, here's what I'm doing now. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. So I wanted to stay in IT.
So first thing was I want to stay in IT.
Just based on the market, based on what's going to happen in the future, automation. Where can I get valuable skill and experience so that I can be opened up, whatever. The second thing was location would have been ideal in terms of being access to transit. This was not. So, that was like a relative sacrifice. But
so if you went to another state, you would still been looking for access to transit.
Hell yeah. If I'm in San Fran, I'm taking BART. Shit. Or New York.
I'm just asking, dude.
Yeah, I'm on that.
Jesus God. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just on that level. But second is salary.
Oh, second was salary.
Yeah, second was just like a baseline of, I got to make at least this much. You know what I mean? And then third was travel. There's a lot of jobs in Alpharetta. So, but for my location, from coming from the city to Alpharetta, it's definitely doable. Because after a certain point, I'm going against traffic, but the traffic is just so bad up there.
Always.
It's just
pretty much.
I basically got to fight traffic for about 12, 13 miles versus where I'm going now. I'm like, it's not that bad, and there's a charger in the area where I can plug in, so
Okay.
I may not have to use gas. All right, well, shit. I'm anti-gas too, so if I can just use electricity, then
Yeah. If I could use the electricity, you'll be good.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll be fine. So those are I didn't want to because I know myself.
Right.
A crazy commute for me is just not going to be conducive.
So did you get that though? The reason why I asked that because not Chaz per se, but anyone who's leaving a dead end job, a lot of people may not even look at it in those three criteria.
No, they're going to look at it like, look,
I need to
don't
give
care.
me a goddamn job.
I don't need how long I have to drive. I'll wake up early, and they just do that until they get to a point to where they can get something a little, easier.
Either closer or easy. Because
Yeah.
to me, I'm used to driving. Like you said, I don't like driving. I don't mind driving. I drove all my life. In the military, I drove.
I look at it,
From-
it's opportunity cost.
It is, but what makes up the difference? Every time I had to drive, in addition, they already made up in salary for me.
When you're job hunting, you start to see shit over and over. You want SQL, you want Oracle base, Oracle this, that's a plus, this and that. Like certain experience is just gonna land you an interview faster. So in this particular position, I'm saying I want to stay in IT, but I'm gonna get like some, if everything goes to plan, I should get some great experience. Then should be part of some like international projects.
Right.
Opportunity to travel, hopefully. So I'm like, oh, okay.
It's an expansion of
Yes.
more for you,
Yes.
which is great.
Versus,
Sitting at a desk.
it's not just lateral. It's like this is a pure progression in every sense. The original question was after you get first of all, I didn't get a fucking paper. They got the shit mailed to me. I was just told to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, get the fuck on.
Yeah.
We'll see you a check and a paper. Yeah.
Yeah. So, by the way, if you get laid off and they say, "Hey, you're gonna get paid last whatever," check a direct deposit. Make sure it's the amount that you're supposed to get, just in case.
Or
No funny business.
say, can I have that in writing?
Writing. That's where I fucked up.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna send that to you. I don't think I can leave here because what you're saying and what will happen is probably different.
Yeah.
Because you didn't tell me even earlier that you was having layoffs. So now I don't really trust what you're saying. So I'm gonna go to a point. Let me get this point in. Things like that, it's kind of hard, but don't get emotional. You have to be able to stop and say, "Hold on."
That's where I fucked up.
But that's where most people fuck up.
Yeah.
So my lifetime, fired once, laid off once.
So you've been through it. You know how
Yeah,
to.
I went through it.
You cannot be in the moment. You can take yourself out the moment and
Yeah.
just say, "Okay."
But the layoff, I knew it was coming because they kind of gave me a choice to say, turn on the people who support you, or you get laid off because we're really getting rid of a shift and we're going to cut it in half. But these guys we don't trust, but we trust you. I was like, they didn't do anything wrong. Well, if you don't, so I was pretty much prepared, and I was like, okay, so if you lay me off, what is it going to be?
You make a great point because I definitely fucked up in that regard. When you don't know, even if you have the discomfort and you're just trying to do shit on the side, it's like working, filling out applications, talking with recruiters, until it happens. You like at least the first time, you're like, you motherfucker. So
Right.
and especially to where. And the main reason I felt okay about it was because the firm outsourced the HR to another firm,
Ooh.
and the HR firm was, I felt pretty okay. They didn't want to fuck their shit up, fucking with them.
Right.
So it was more so like, look, I don't know what y'all do, but we need to, we need to do our part, our end. So that was, I felt good on that end because I can always call them up. Hey, the HR people, is there another firm? Say, hey, blah, 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 blah. Compliant. If y'all don't, basically snitching.
Yeah.
If y'all don't do what you're supposed to do, I'm snitching.
It's too late. Too late to be the loyal to the. Yeah. That was over with.
Yeah. So definitely great advice. Get shit in writing because When it's just like, hey, we're going to mail this, we're going to do this, just get something in writing saying, okay, your severance package is blah blah blah. We're going to, even as simple as we're going to mail out the severance package details, which includes, payment, benefits, whatever. Because
it's an emotional
Yeah.
reaction. Be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of what they're doing.
And that's one thing in retrospect. I don't know if I would do anything different, but in terms of managing up, and again, consulting is a little different in terms of internal, because if you're in a position where you spend basically majority of your time at a client site, you're not really you're dealing with the culture of the client versus the culture of your internal company.
But your internal company really is responding to you in a certain way. You have to be aware of that.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I was friendly with people, but just didn't fucking gel. Like, I can feel the energy change when I come around.
Right.
So like, it was, like, I'm not saying it was whatever. Like, I kind of see it with everybody. Like, they as peers, they talk to each other a certain way, and everybody else to try to be,
I get that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, in terms of just from a communication aspect, I never broke through
that different barrier.
I don't think so. Nor I don't think I would have 10 times out of 10.
But you wanted to be who you were, which was good. I test people. So I test them by saying, I'm going to conform to this different kind of culture. When I kind of tested with them, they reacted and was like, oh, you're different than what I thought. I wasn't different. I just started to acquiesce to a lot of things that they're used to.
Yeah.
And then as they got comfortable, I went back to the way I was. They was like, damn, Mike, you're just going to fuck off. I was like, that's who I am. I said, the problem is now I know who y'all are. But when you're in a position and you know that they're looking to say, I don't like what you do, where do you place yourself? If you place yourself in a position that you can continue to say, I have an opportunity to do better, or I don't have any opportunity. You saw that. You actually saw that when they kind of wrote you up. And you was preparing. You didn't say, this is the end. I mean, let me get out of here before they get me.
Preemptive.
Yeah,
or
preemptive
something.
strike.
Not a strike, but just, or something where you try to take defensive or something measures.
Oh,
or something.
like a defensive maneuvers.
Yes.
Like,
something.
hey, put up your barriers because we know they're coming, but have it ready.
I don't know when or how, but, I don't, you know what I'm saying? They're going to try to fly some shit into my building, me.
So
you know what I'm saying?
I tell you the other manipulative thing
Yeah.
is I reveal other people to say, if you get rid of me, I have the data points of these other people who aren't performing. So when you say I'm not either doing my job right up, or we're getting rid of people in this area, this person who's really is irrelevant doing projects.
I'm not going to speak on that part.
No, I got you.
Okay, all right.
But when I have, that's the talking points at the end.
I understood.
Yeah.
I didn't go there because I didn't feel the need I should. But that certain thoughts ran through my mind, like, me? Everybody.
What about that mo? Right,
but
right.
it's like, what? But again, I treated it like a breakup. I didn't treat it at a job, at a firm. You should treat it that way in terms of, well, here's the data.
Preemptive strike.
Here's the clients. Here's how they actually feel. Who has a track record of blah, blah, blah versus, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know what? Like, all right.
So think about this. That's what a manager always told me. I always thought he was an asshole, but he was absolutely right. He said, everyone's replaceable. And I was like, I get that. Everyone says that all the time. But he says, so what happens when the best guy in the building dies? We have to replace him. The business won't stop. The worst person leaves. We don't stop. If you think you're the most valuable and we'll fall apart, you're thinking wrong. No. Let me finish the thought.
Okay.
The thought is there's people that aren't doing well. and there's people who they want to hold on to. But regardless of the matter, once you see that they don't find value in you or feel that, you got to make the decision. In this day and age, this isn't back when this day and age, you should be moving on. Don't stay there. You should be moving on if there's no way to go. And you got to look at alternatives, because I can go 3 different areas right now. They want me to go one area. Some of them I'm okay with. The other one I'm waiting for. I can go 3 different areas to, again, build my value and skills up. I'm in a position that I just don't have to. That's a good thing for some. You have to leave a job when you know you can't go anywhere, or they don't want you to go anywhere. We have the person that we want in there, whether color or gender or whatever. We have the person we want, but we don't want him to move there, because now we got to check off for the federal government to say, yep, we have enough of these.
Well, okay. In my case, it wasn't anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
But I'll say, just, for the dead end thing, working a dead end job was just like, you just see how much they don't give a fuck.
Yep.
How you survive off this shitty salary. You see the turnover. It's like, absolutely, you're replaceable. I learned that lesson early on, and I think that prepared me just for my transition going forward. To like, just to say, if I don't advocate for myself and get skills for myself, then I can't. These motherfuckers won't. So it doesn't make any sense for me just to sit here
convince them.
Yeah. Well, not even convinced, because I already know what the answer is going to be. It's just, and I think one thing I always struggled with is dealing with, I guess I say managers, like, who are bitches. Like, just, I'm not talking, I don't mean women. I mean, like, dudes.
Oh, I know that. I know exactly what you're talking
like,
about.
people I can't just gel with on a certain level. I'm like, I can't really, like, okay. I know my story is just my story. Is, single mother, inner city, poverty, blah, 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 blah. People know that story over and over. But you get into a workplace, and as you progress, you start interacting, like, low level, you're going to meet a lot of people with the same poverty background story.
Right.
As you move up, you're probably more than likely going to meet people who have trust funds and their parents, blah, blah, blah. They're connected. Or just whatever. And just the things that people care about and their perspective is just like that's one of the things I think I always struggle with from a just in a workplace type thing, just because I can't, like, the interview that I did went great because, we can just talk and, communicate, versus, like, I don't know what, like, I
don't think you give yourself enough credit, though.
What do you mean?
Honestly. I think even when you deal with these trust fund babies, you're knowledgeable enough. I'm not even saying
trust fund babies.
No, I'm so people in general.
Yeah.
I think even when you say, I just can't gel with these, I think you're more flexible than you think you are. It's your tolerance. And I think your tolerance,
that's what I learned,
has to adjust.
So what I learned is I can work with clients. I can work with different clients all the time. But if I had to work with one client a lot, the personalities start to grate. Like, I love seeing you once a week.
Yeah. But more than that, yeah. But then you have to create that, because I think you're learning that your tolerance level is different. Like me, I can't work for managers that aren't as smart as I am. I can't. It's hard.
Smart is relative too.
So intelligent. How about that? I'm just gonna take the smart out of there. They're not as intelligent as I am, and they're not as experienced as I am, because they were put in a position because who they knew, or their resume was glaring because they was from Ohio State. They've done all of this, and they was placed in that position.
But one thing, when I look back at some of my big advocates or people I've gelled with, they have a keen emotional intelligence.
And a lot don't have that.
Yeah, a lot of people can can do, advanced analytics. They can do financial, financial derivatives, create financial instruments. What all this crazy shit that I can't do maybe, but I think one thing I think I'm great at is the emotional side of things, or just kind of being attuned of like, okay, so and so's going on, or okay, this so and so has a vibe. Let me see what's going on.
We're in that age though. We're in that age, and if you look at the because I read Medium a lot.
Yeah.
And most of the articles really gel toward leadership of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
You got more books with emotional intelligence.
Can you teach that in, like, I don't know if I can, from a book?
So
some things are just life, man.
You can be aware of it
through
a book.
Okay.
But you can't really teach it. You have to experience it, and you have to actually do it. I've done it all my life. Even the emotional fucked up part of just blowing up emotionally, but it's because I was passionate of getting things done. Then I had to learn to control that, because everyone won't respond to emotions of saying, I'm trying to take care of you and I'm trying to save your job. They can't respond to that. How do you help people understand it?
That's why I struggle, because I don't know if I can help people understand from certain things, because I find that life is a matter of relative. It's comparable. In other words, I think in past podcasts I mentioned I saved for a car. So in that time I didn't have one, so I walked, I took MARTA, or I had to take Uber. So now that I have one, it's like I appreciate the sacrifice. But I appreciate a car in context, because I don't like driving. Atlanta has shitty potholes. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you work in the city and you see homeless people and you show them to work with a fucking attitude, to me that makes no sense. Because you see people who are downtrodden and whatever, it's just.
But you see them. Some people don't see them. That's why when the homeless say, "You see me, don't walk past me. Address me as a human being."
Give them that dignity,
appreciate
man.
that. I'll be like, "No, I'm sorry. I at a minimum say, I don't carry cash with me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, could you give me something to eat? Yeah, I'm right around the corner. I'll bring you out something right now."
Give them that dignity. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, there's another
don't
words.
Think that way.
There's so much other shit to, like. Look, if you got people who love you, you got clothes, a place to sleep. If you got a place to sleep, shit, shower, and fuck. Like, bro, you halfway there.
I heard the 3 S's. I didn't get the fuck part, but
bro, that's important.
It was shower and shave, but the fuck part.
Yeah, you gotta. Well,
I gotta add that in. All right.
Yeah. Because you gotta. Look, I'm adding that. Look,
you gotta have that.
Yeah, in quotations, right? Chaz Jenkins, 2018.
But that's why I'm saying for you, Chaz, what you saying is. And I think we've talked to it a lot of times doing our podcast, is you see things differently. Everyone doesn't.
But a manager, especially like.
No, you. So a cop, I give that.
Fair enough.
A cop shouldn't be shooting people based on, I think.
Or wrestling teenage girls.
Yeah. But he's a cop though. No.
Yeah.
You can't. A manager, I found too many, and this is where I struggle, because if I know I'm doing the right thing, and I know I'm advancing people like you should be doing, and I know I'm bringing value to the company because I'm bringing people up a level, or I'm getting them the fuck out, because what they did, they fake you out doing an interview, and you was suckered to hire them, and guess what? They're not competent enough to be in the company.
See, I don't believe in that. One thing that always gets me mad about interviews is not asking task related, like, hey, here's a situation, tell me what you would do, or something to show competence. I feel like a lot of times, you can tell me if I'm off base, but just don't talk to the motherfucker. Don't take the resume for granted. Be like, if you fucking know how to use this, okay, show me here's a whiteboard. Write out this Excel function since you're so good at this.
Right.
Write out, if you know the programming language, write out a sample, query or syntax.
I've done that. And some people are really good at explaining everything. Very good.
And then they still fake you out?
Here's the problem. They can't execute it though. So the problem with sometimes when you interview people, because I've interviewed people that interviewed shitty. They kind of like, we don't fucking want to hire them. As soon as you got them on the floor, they were the best supervisors that you could hire because what they can't tell you what they do, they can just show you. And that's where you have to find out where the show and the tell
balance come together.
Where's that balance is. It's even hard for me. I can bring it out of a person. The problem is, but sometimes you have to try it. That's the chance that you take. Mm-hmm. So the resume is a base to get you in the door. That's just gets you in the door. The interview is
that's so crucial.
Yeah. But that means the next person that interviews has to have a different perspective than you do because they may ask a different question as opposed to what I ask. And then I have to listen to them and say, damn, I wouldn't think about it that way.
I want to talk about two things real quick.
Go ahead.
So the second thing I want to talk about is how I prepare for the interview. Mm-hmm. The first thing is applying for jobs. Now, applying for jobs is pretty that's self-explanatory. But with LinkedIn, you do get some sort of analytics basically. So when you click apply, mm-hmm. or you go to a job page, it says here's part of the country where people have applied from. Here, X amount of people have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, MBAs. People have entry level, middle management, manager, senior. So you can kind of use that as a baseline. So if you're looking for project manager jobs, you look up like maybe 10, get like the stats for those 10 through LinkedIn and say, okay, on average, mm-hmm. On different parts of the country, you're going to have X amount of people with this experience, middle, whatever. And what I find is you get a lot of people coming down. In other words, saying like non-manager positions, you get senior people, maybe about 20% applying for an analyst position, or mm-hmm. like obviously analyst is kind of those weird things to where it could be senior.
Yeah.
But still, you may have a senior analyst role, but for the analyst, you still have like a lot of qualified people applying.
Yeah.
So very competitive out there. So just targeting jobs, you may say, yeah, I'm qualified, but if you're not looking at those analytics, the fucking competition is blasting you out the water.
Right.
Because you got some dude with 10 years experience versus your 2, your 3. Even though the thing says 0 to whatever, you're mm-hmm. like, it says 0 to 5. I have 2 and I have a lot of other shit. Mm-hmm. It's not even 0 to 5, maybe 0 to 3. You still may see those senior people apply.
But they do. A lot of senior people apply. And what I've found, too, is because they want to get out of what they're doing.
Yes.
It's kind of like, I've done that. I just don't want to do that mm-hmm. no more. I got 2 VPs in our company who didn't want to do that no more. They didn't want to travel the country. They didn't want to manage 6 facilities. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I want to stay home. So I'm just going to be a GM. So I'm going to take a GM position. I'm not going to take a VP position. So and I was like, who the fuck would the dude said, and then, I wanted him to be my mentor, but then I got thrown off, me and him disconnected. But he said, I've done it already. Mm-hmm. See, so things that you accomplish, if you've done it, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. And he said, in those positions, I made a lot of money. It's not about the money. And it's not about proving. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay because I want to be home.
So when his resume flies across the desk, like, oh, well, shit.
We need him.
Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if you're somebody else who's trying to work the way up into that GM position, mm-hmm. you just got blasted out the fucking water. You thinking, don't, basically what I'm saying is be aware of that aspect because that scenario, and I think just the way the market is right now, mm-hmm. there's just dynamic, whatever the case. You can't take that for granted. So you want to, especially if you're early in your career, you want to target relative entry-ish level type things mm-hmm. or early career type positions. They'll be written a little bit differently, maybe have less requirements.
Or lateral.
Yeah, lateral too.
Lateral gets you in a position, and I'm going to kind of lean toward what you were talking about, is I'll take equitable salary. I'll take whatever we were doing. But what is my position to advance from there? Oh, we got plenty of opportunities outside of that.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that, that's best for your career going forward.
That's kind of like saying, even if you want to get out of, there's sometimes programmers just get tired of, it's it can be burnout,
Yeah.
constantly development, constantly projects, constantly blah blah blah. So you might be a developer here. You might say, you know what, let me go to Amazon, and then maybe I could switch to a product manager.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So it's lateral, but you're trying to put yourself in place to make that move.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Knowing how to. One of my lessons was just being able to target positions.
Okay.
And that said, the big lesson was don't do it yourself. One thing I had to start doing was I was applying to so many. Just like bam, bam, bam. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to start tracking these.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did like a simple, document. The company, the position, any pertinent links, and I put like
Date applied.
yeah, of course, date applied, but yeah, any pertinent links, and then last contact.
Gotcha.
So I applied on this date, maybe send an email or phone call, something to say okay, and then put a note like okay, so and so called, and then follow up if I need to, but just something like that for every position to kind of give myself like a view of the total process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important. Otherwise, you're not gonna keep track of all the shit in your head.
No.
So
and if you're doing that, that's pretty dumb, because you can get mixed up with your interviews and expecting, because I got multiple resumes. So you start talking about a resume that they didn't get, and they was like, no, we weren't. You'd be like, oh shit, that's the wrong one.
Yeah.
So I started with chronologically when I started doing interviews and all of that I knew who I applied for and what came
once
back.
you get a phone call or something, you can jump back to your notes. It says, oh, okay, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Then the phone call is like, oh, hello, so-and-so. You remember their name?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the last thing you talked about? So that's going to be much more impressive versus,
who's this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, write down the fucking number they're going to call.
Yeah. And then they'd be like, God damn, I told you I was going to call you back. They was like,
Oh.
I don't know if this guy's really into it. They'd be like, oh shit, no.
And then you desperate.
Yeah, then you're
Please.
desperate. I need this job. One of these fucks. Yeah. No, I think that's really critical.
Just your thirsty ass. So, and then, I had a moment because I know on paper how I look versus, the positions I'm going for. Depending on who's doing the hiring or, the screening, there can be a disconnect in terms of, how I look on paper or whatever, because I have a bachelor's of arts, versus a bachelor's of science or something.
Right.
As for IT, that's like, you want, so obviously, IT is such a experienced thing. Once you do it, you've done it.
Right.
The degree be damned, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's a lot of that now.
Yeah. So I was driving home one day, and I was on like the interstate, and there was on the off ramp, people were slowing down. I was like, what the fuck's going on? And it was like different homeless dudes at different points, kind of, because it was rush hour a little bit, so it was already slow anyway, so they can kind of go out to cars without being dangerous.
Yeah.
Kind of ask for
jumping
money.
through traffic. Yeah, they'd be kind of like, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Yeah. And it just kind of dawned on me at that moment. There was one dude who looked scruffy, able-bodied. Another dude who looked kind of janky, like, what I'm saying, he looked like he probably failed a drug test. And then there was one dude who was on crutches. He looked like whatever, and it was kind of like the one dude on crutches was killing him because he fit the
he's got crutches. He's injured.
He something.
Right,
he fit the description. I'm like, oh shit, he's being recruited for, what I'm saying? He's fitting
his presentation.
He's fitting the part in terms of like, okay, I have $1 in my pocket. I'm putting a job description for my $1. Be homeless, look fucked up,
have a crutch,
have disability. You know what I'm saying? So I'm passing. So you have 3 candidates who want the $1, right? Whatever. And the one dude
fits it.
Yeah, one dude like, listen, you look too able-bodied. What's some bullshit going on? You probably lazy. And then the other dude, he looks you look like you're gonna be a crackhead. Nah.
I can't fuck with you.
And then okay, the crutch guy. You know what? Let me help him out. You know, he on crutches. He homeless.
Yeah,
Who's to
he can't help it.
who's to say the guy on crutches is actually on crutches? You know, he could be just bullshitting because he knows that's just like
That's the niche.
just like the homeless guy with the dog. People don't give a fuck about the guy, but
Oh, the dog.
man, feed your fucking dog, you asshole. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting bank off
But
that.
see, I got the opposite. I'm like, what do you need a dog for, dude? Now you got to feed a dog and you. Get rid of the dog. Maybe you can work a little longer and just feed yourself. But don't worry about this dog.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, who's to say the other two guys aren't, have a worse story than maybe? Because I'm thinking maybe the crush guy is an asshole. He's drunk all the time, fucking fell,
And fucked himself up.
and the other guy is like a nice dude who's just he's desperate.
Right.
Like we don't know. So when you get these resumes, you might have in your mind, the hiring manager, the recruiter's mind, you're like, oh, this person.
Yeah, he's
like,
got what we need.
He's a crutch guy.
Right.
I'm like, well, he's a crutch guy maybe because he's trying to leave. He fucked up at his current job. He's trying to, it was just one of those things where seeing the crutch guy get the money, I'm like, okay. It's just people just make those decisions just based on
Snapshots.
And I'm like, can I blame them? Blame them though?
But a resume is a snapshot. So you have to make it the most attractive because you just told me now that, I may not have updated it properly, my resume, but
I feel like I did.
No, but I didn't. So it's
did.
kind of like, shit, maybe I need to have another look at my resume by someone else to say, no, dude, you'll never get hired because your shit isn't what people are looking for now.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So to your point, the first guy was your typical homeless guy. Everybody used to that. Mm-hmm. But now you got 3 different criteria. Who are they really going for now?
Right.
They going for the third guy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that little snapshot was just I had to appreciate it just because I'm because I'm just thinking I'm not getting called back. I feel like I'm competitive. I'm not getting called back as much as I should. I feel now. That said, I ran into some. I was networking, of course. No, of course, I couldn't stay at home. I got to be out and about. Mm-hmm. Before I get any final say so. Until I get a job, I'm signing documents. Mm-hmm. I'm hustling. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm at a networking event. And I met a lady, and she made me feel a little bit better because she was like, she got laid off, and she was saying for her, she had much more experience and. She's going through the same shit of, she's not getting callbacks, blah blah blah. Just it's competitive. Because that said, although I think IT is where it's at. You're competing against a lot of non-citizens or just contract work, just whatever. You don't.
It's a lot to compete with.
IT is just it's complex.
Right.
We have different firms, whatever the case. So. Even though your company may have IT, they may hire consultants or do this, do that. Or so if you're coming in for an IT position, they can change strategy and just be like, you know what, we're gonna have Deloitte come in and fucking do the shit for us, or just whatever. Whereas you could have been part of that team to do it, but they brought in some outsiders.
Right. So with that said, in closing, you had some good insight, but what's your advice? Because we're gonna have some other people on.
Yeah.
How do you close that out to say what to look out for?
I think, if I just had to close, because I really feel for, it can be hard enough for a motherfucker who has a packed resume versus the motherfucker at the bottom who's trying to transition into the top. It's not easy to do. It's taken me years to do that.
Right.
So if you're trying to do it, be prepared to work for free, first of all, because you need experience.
Right.
So figure that shit out. I think if you have access to a nonprofit or something, try to get on the board or try to do something, because if you're on that board or whatever, that's giving you some sort of management leadership experience that you're not going to get working your dead ass job.
So something to supplement.
Yeah, on paper, because once you get in that room and okay, what have you done?
You'd be like,
yeah. Oh, well, I tell people I'm Comcast and I tell them they use too much of their internet. I hate you, motherfucker.
Oh, you the motherfuckers.
You
that,
motherfucker.
I hate y'all.
Yeah,
Right,
like
right.
versus, in addition to that, I'm on a nonprofit. I'm on the board.
One of my community.
Yeah, help
such
with
and such.
help with the budget, blah blah blah. Yeah, have some tangible things on the resume you can talk about. Get a mentor, get some extra skills, no matter what, and be prepared to transition 2 or 3 times before you can get where you want to go. I think that's the bottom line. So we're gonna have some more conversations on this topic.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited.
So look out for different people who went through the experience, and you'll probably get a lot more injection from Chaz, because getting into a new job, it's got to be prepared of what you see now.
Yeah, we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a new job update.
Yep, exactly. And it's really important, because I think more people go through it than we think, or more people should be looking at it while they're currently in a job right now.
Before this shit hits the fan.
Before this shit hits the fan, because you probably be smelling it, but it's hitting the fucking fan. So, excellent. M3, Millennial Money Management on the Bougie Black Brother Network. We appreciate you stopping by, and stay tuned. You'll see a lot of advertising on Instagram, Bougie Black Bro, and CJ Stay Chillin'.
That's the IG, but go to the website.
Go to the website.
ChazMJenkins.com.
Yep.
Check me out.
Check him out, and you'll see his story in progress. So, appreciate you stopping by. M3. See ya.